welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from Anusabata, Desawe Kanda. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're streaming as well on 3news.com, on 3FM 927 on Facebook and on X this evening here on Hot Edition. U.S. court slashes $80 million defamation award against Kennedy Japan to $500. Stay with us. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 plus. Also, with all this unfolding in the case of Sami Gyamfi, the CEO of Gold Board. As we do know, the minority is demanding tough action from President Mahama against Sami Gyamfi over the dollar gift saga. And also, we'll give you a quick update on his meeting with the Chief of Staff earlier today. President Mahama has been speaking, in fact, also talking to African leaders to adopt new public debt management systems. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 and on W93.5 in Y and beyond. Let's start off with a summary of the news. Safwa Boaheng is here.
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment. Let's settle for the details now. The minority in Parliament has asked that Sami Gyamfi, the acting chief executive of the Ghana Gold Board, should be suspended with immediate effect in relation to the incident where he was captured on video handing out US dollars to Nana Grada. The Bank of Ghana also has filed a motion at the High Court in Accra asking the court to strike out a suit filed by a Ghanaian retiree who has dragged the bank and its immediate past governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, to court, citing gross negligence in the management of the Ghana city. Away from that, railway workers across Ghana on Monday declared an indefinite sit-down strike, grinding services under the Ghana Railway Company Limited to a halt over unpaid salaries and deteriorating working conditions. According to the workers led by the Railway Workers Union in Accra, the industrial action will begin on Tuesday, May 13, which is tomorrow. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that and bring you the details. But let's bring you our last story, where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has commenced a home and office passport delivery service for applicants in collaboration with Ghana Post and local courier firm Trustkit. The initiative, which forms part of the 6 new policy initiatives outlined and implemented by the ministry this year, officially took off last Friday, with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, personally delivering the travel document to some applicants within Accra. And this is where we bring the end of the news summary segment. Over to you, Alfred.
So thank you. It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get into the stories right now. And this is one we've been following quite closely here across all media journal platforms. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi, has met with the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, following a summons from the presidency. The meeting was prompted by a viral video showing Sami Gyamfi handing cash to controversial evangelist Patricia Siedua Isiama, popularly known as Nana Grada. Now, the video, which has sparked widespread reactions, captures Sami Gyamfi giving an undisclosed amount of US dollars to the religious figure. Now, Presidential Affairs correspondent Komla Kluche, who confirmed the meeting earlier, where the Chief of Staff said it happened behind closed doors. President Mahama is expected to be briefed upon his return from Lome. Earlier, that's later in the coming days. But the incident has drawn sharp criticism, which calls for accountability and strict adherence to the code of conduct for public officials has been dominant. Amid also calls for sanctions against Sami Gyamfi. This coming from the minority in Parliament, despite a public apology. Our Presidential Affairs correspondent Komla Kluche is joining me in the studio with an update on this. Komla, you earlier indeed did confirm that meeting between Sami Gyamfi and the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra. Now, what more have you gathered? Maybe went on in this meeting and the aftermath?
Well, the status quo has not changed necessarily, but what we understand is that the president takes a very, very serious view of this event that started yesterday, which was Sunday, and it's been dominant in most of the discussions, both on social media and also on traditional media, to the extent that well-meaning people within CSOs and also the political side of the divide have also come out to make commentary on this, and is still a trending matter that the president deems it very, very seriously. And so, to that effect, the president, through the chief of staff, summoned the chief executive or the acting chief executive of, the Ghana Gold Board, Sami Gyamfi, who we can confirm that he left the presidency.
Sorry.
This morning at about just minutes after 11. He left there. He was there early on, but left around 11. Very early in the morning, the chief of staff summoned him. It tells you the government of how the presidency takes this whole issue seriously, and so some level of discussion and many can equally quality query of the sort has gone on, and the chief of staff is demanding nothing else apart from answers. But it's also important to note that the gentleman, in appearing before the chief of staff, at least I have seen him when he came to the presidency, he was in quite a pensive mood. He looked very remorseful. The remorse actually started yesterday when he had gone to the public with that apology, and also that apology was extended to the government as well, because ever since yesterday, the government has come under heavy criticism over that singular act. But then the chief of staff deemed it necessary. My understanding is that because the president takes a very, very serious view of this, noting the very high standard that he has set for himself and then his appointees, it's not an issue that they are just going to make, just slide. As to what the repercussions may be, we can only wait. But yes, of course, there is that indication that the presidency does not take this matter lightly at all. Even though, from the face of it, he is really not offended any law. He's actually also not necessarily offended any part of the code of ethics. If you look at it, if you want to go by it strictly in terms of conduct, the code only talks about receiving. He has not received any money, but then it's still part of how he needed to have
conducted himself.
And so it's also for that reason why they think that, irrespective of the generosity, so to speak, that he probably displayed, the indiscretion nonetheless came to play. The very reason why the presidency, through the chief of staff, thinks that Sami Gyamfi has got
some questions to answer in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's some very important detail that you gave there. And because you were there and you saw the disposition and countenance of the gentleman we're talking about at the presidency, Sami Gyamfi, what would you say? Who did you come in company with? Was he there alone? And would you describe, based on your own observation, the engagement as one that was cordial, based on the signals that you picked up at that meeting earlier today?
He walked to the chief of staff's office alone because he was invited alone. He came and then parked his vehicle and then moved straight from the car park and went straight to the chief of staff's office. And that meeting was not in the full glare of the media, even though myself, I was there to source information and source news as well, but this is not something that was in the full glare of the media. It was behind closed door. And even as we speak now, no further detail is being put out yet by the chief of staff's office yet, or even the handlers of the president, except to say that yes, of course, there was that remorse from him, and also the promptness with which he took the call from the chief of staff. And one thing people must note is that if you've been summoned by the chief of staff, it's no mean a joke. It means that the government of the issue, be it the development of the country, a specific task, or maybe a disciplinary issue, it's a very, very serious call. And for that matter, him appearing, irrespective of what good things he may have done in the past, and also even regarding the gesture he gave, it is relevant to the fact that there's some amount of reprimand that is ongoing. The more reason why appearing before the chief of staff alone is a big deal. And so we can only wait probably in the coming hours or days or so to see. But yes, of course, he's got the questions that he's been asked. Some responses were given immediately. We understand. And then we are only yet to get to know whether those responses have been satisfactory to the chief of staff, and also what next line of action the chief of staff is going to take. Whatever the repercussions may be, we are not aware yet. But definitely, we do understand that some amount of communication from the office of the president or the chief of staff would come to the public, because, yes, of course, the presidency wants some level of transparency. It's not a matter they are going to sweep under the carpet. The assurance from our sources is that, yes, of course, because of the level of interest in the matter, and also the high standard that the president has set, this is an issue that the president will come back, or the chief of staff will come back to the public with.
It's a very important point. And then talk about the high standards. This is where I bring in Martin Pebo, who is a private legal practitioner. There's also an anti-corruption crusader joining us on the telephone right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Ocansey.
And looking at how the issues have played out, right from Saturday when this video surfaced and it's gone viral since, Sami Gyamfi's apology and the aftermath, and then also this morning the summons by the chief of staff, and as our presidential affairs correspondent has clearly indicated the seriousness that government, the entire government machinery, as a matter of fact the presidency, is attaching to tackling this matter. How does all of this strike you?
Well, so it tells you that our governance and issues of accountability have been raised at least a notch higher. Yes, because I say so because, look, just a few months ago in the previous administration, we've seen opulent birthday parties, etc., that did not attract the attention of the chief of staff. So for what looks like $2,000 to, generate such a lot of public interest and furore, it tells you that our people are now more engaged, and that our democracy is certainly, benefiting from it. It means that, Ghanaians are watching everything. Because, to be honest with you, I'm also learning from this incident. I'm also learning from it, because ordinarily, if people hadn't reacted like this, I would have said, oh, this is normal, especially knowing that I'd heard a few things about Sami Gyamfi, that he had been doing private business and he's taken to giving. He likes to give people, the underprivileged, etc. I've heard a few people who have said that he paid their school fees for them, he paid school fees for classmates, etc. So because of that background, I didn't, take it serious. But from the public reactions, I've learned a lot, meaning that for Ghanaians, this will not be accepted. Even if you have your private money, Ghanaians would not allow you to show such, what do you call it, opulence in public. That's the whole thing. So it means that don't be caught. Yes, you can give a lot of money in private, but once it's on the camera, it means that Ghanaians are saying no, they would not allow it. And as you said, democracy is crowd, there's a wisdom. So once the majority of the people are uncomfortable and are upset, it tells you that we should learn something from it. Because I ask myself, so what's the difference? The difference is that it's on camera, but in private, you can give 10 times, 1,000 times that. It's not a problem. But the moment it is seen on camera, and especially it is US dollars, then it means that it's a problem. So I'm also learning from it, because this is something that can happen to anybody. So we are all learning, actually.
And you make the point about what he is known for privately, and that has been corroborated by many. But also the when you flip that coin around, now he's an officer in a public office, serving at the behest of the people. And so the dictates and demands of that office would certainly have to guide his private, benevolence, is it not?
Absolutely. There's no doubt at all about it. There's no doubt, yes, because now the game has changed. He's a public officer. So it means that everything he does, at least things that he's doing on camera, of course, he may not have been aware that it's on camera, but, well, it's happened. So it means that now he has to be extremely cautious in everything that he does. And, yes, as I said, we are all learning from it. And it tells you that public office is now going to be a lot more difficult to, handle.
But there's been proposals that government must restrict public gift giving by political appointees to strengthen the fight against corruption, because just for the optics as well in the fight against corruption, this certainly cannot be a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. No, say that again.
I was saying that there's been that proposal, in fact, the call by many for government to restrict public gift giving by political appointees in order to strengthen the fight against corruption, because this incident, for the optics, doesn't augur well in the fight against corruption.
Yes. For the optics, yes, it doesn't augur well. But like you said, so the other side of it then is that it's going to chill charity by public officers. It's going to chill it. So, well, that's the conundrum. So it's like the more things change, then the more they remain the same. You're trying to solve one problem, then in the process, you create another. Because, in a country where we don't have many opportunities, millions of our youth are unemployed. Usually they depend on the politicians to be able to get a few things done, even some for their very livelihood. So now you're like, hey, it means that these people, when you are giving them help, it has to be done quickly. Because the moment it comes up, then it means that people are going to raise hell. So this case is really difficult. It's a difficult one, really, really difficult. Because as the politicians, MPs, etc., some MPs wake up in the morning and there's a long line of constituents who have come to collect medical, money to pay medical bills, school fees, funerals, weddings, naming ceremonies, etc. They are constantly given to constituents. So this particular case, we need to see how it's going to chill, the work that MPs and ministers do.
But Council, there's been that attempt to, as it were, drawing the code of conduct and also how the nexus between this action and the code of conduct that was launched by the president. The code of conduct is quite heavy on the public officers receiving gifts, but silent on they giving gifts. So should the likes of Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh make the proposal that the code of conduct must explicitly regulate public acts of charity and ostentation by government appointees? Way to go?
No, we need to reflect a bit more about this. And actually, there's this point that we haven't made strongly enough. You know that he entered the car and counted the manual. So it's the paparazzi, if I call it so, that snooped in on him. I think we should start the analysis from that point. He entered the car. He didn't stand publicly to count the money. He entered the car and counted. Then a camera was sitting there. So he didn't see. That's why I said, listen, we really have to be careful how we are analyzing. Look at the video. He didn't stand openly and then started counting that. He entered the car. The car is his private space. That car is not a public space. Within the car, it's his private space, right? And he didn't invite people in. It's a grada, that's patients, what they call patients, right?
Yes.
Yes. He stood by it. All right. So this matter is really complex. It's complex because, as I've mentioned, look, millions of our people are unemployed. So if we are not careful, really, let's reflect a lot more. So, as I've already said, yes, what this case is teaching us is that a lot of these things should be done in private. Yes. So that much is clear. That much is clear. But let's not make the mistake that to think that this one he was doing it publicly. He was doing it in private, and he got caught. So in the same way, and don't think that this will be the last. Next time you see that an MP is giving money in his house to constituents, it will leak. As for matters like this leaking, this will not be the first and this will not be the last. They will always leak. They will always leak, right?
And rightly so. I mean, and you look at the reverse as well, because I mean, every law in its sense that checks corruption or indiscipline, it only kicks in when you are seen or caught or recorded. I mean, if that's not seen or recorded, that goes unnoticed and unpunished. That's what happens, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So that's why they say that shall not be caught. That shall not be caught. This matter, you see, the other side too that we cannot run away from is analyzing it. You see that the MPP was badly humiliated in the last election. So any small matter they see, it's in their interest to blow it up. And sometimes even out of proportion. Very eager to equalize. Yes, there's also that huge element we cannot run away from. So that they listen, then it should become a public scandal. Some have even tried to draw parallels between this one and
yes, and that of Cecilia Dapa. I'm sure you've heard
painful.
that.
How can you compare this one to Cecilia Dapa's matter? Cecilia Dapa's matter, she was given two opportunities. She couldn't explain the source of the money. 2 times she went to OSC, her stories didn't check out. Oh, it's a cosmetic business. 2 times, named 2 cosmetic businesses. It turned out the businesses are not owned by her. The next time she said part of the money belonged to her deceased brother. Then the widow sought to sue her. So she came and changed that story. So comedy of errors. How can you compare that to this a few thousand dollars? It's really difficult. So a huge part of this case is an attempt to equalize for the other case. A huge part of this. Because as I mentioned, MPs pay fees, not only MPs, ministers. They are often in the business of paying fees, the other bills for constituents. So this case, let's be careful how we analyze it. If not, we are going to cause more problems than they even existed. So the cure should not be worse than the disease. The cure should not be worse than the disease. I can say, because now you're going to say that even when an MP is paying school fees, even when an MP is doing other things for constituents, they have to be careful that tomorrow somebody will go and say that, oh, this is opulent.
But you also look at the flip as to if Sami Gyamfi, as we saw in the video, just had decided that, you know what, I mean, I don't have any business doing with this person, especially because of her own comments politically as well, snaps her and then gets into his vehicle, drives off as well. How about that scenario?
No, so I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Because of the analysis that you bring in about how this would could impact on benevolence. This is why there are others who have also asked a question about whether he, on the flip side, did not entertain this person and decided that even upon beckoning and, quote, harassing him to give her money, had decided to rather exercise same discretion, sit in his vehicle and drive off.
Look, they say I don't buy into that. I don't think I have enough facts to side with those people saying that it's an act of indiscretion. No. Let's be very objective. Let's not say things today that tomorrow we can't defend. Now let's go into the specifics. One, as I've mentioned, was it done in public? It was done in the car. It's somebody who put, a camera in there that he didn't see. Obviously, if Sami Jefi had seen it, he would have stopped it. So look at it. It wasn't done openly. It was done in the car with Agrada partly covering Sami Jefi, right? And then somebody put a camera in there. Now, too, Agrada is said that she even gave her hotel to the NDC to use for what? Some number of days that was free. And so sometimes somebody gives you, it's normal in life, somebody gives you a gift today. If tomorrow he sees that you are in a better position to be able to pay for it, sometimes people ask, even if they are not asking to be paid for it, they'll say, oh, you remember when you were in Dye Street, I helped you. Sometimes you are also in you are in France, you are in a better position. Oh, maybe you can give me something. It happens all the time in life, right? So it's difficult to call this indiscretion. It's extremely difficult. Look, in law, there's this very popular saying. They'll tell you that, look, with hindsight, even a fool is wiser. Yes, with hindsight, even a fool is wiser. But it is not the hindsight of a fool that is used in measuring liability, okay? But the foresight of a reasonable man. What I'm simply saying is that Sami Jefi, at the point that he was doing this, was doing it in a car. We all, we are familiar with this. A big man in his car counts money and gives to people. We all have received some while we were kids and have grown up. And some grown up to receive. So if we are not careful, as I said, there's a huge part of this thing which is a quest to equalize. So we'll do something that very soon, like you say, we're going to kill benevolence. I like your use of the word benevolence or charity. So I'm not going to quickly jump onto the bandwagon that Sami Jefi did it. It was an act of indiscretion. No. And me saying this today, even since this government came, just last Saturday, remember I disagreed vehemently with Kwati Ofusu on the matter of President Mama giving an extension to appointees to file their assets. So I disagreed and said under Article 286, the president had no power to do that. When the Bank of Ghana search came, the governor's search came, I disagreed. I spoke against Jakpa, the matter of Giti Owari. I even went to the extent of saying I'll defend Giti Owari if NIB incarcerated there beyond 48 hours. Okay, there are several other things I've disagreed. Okay, with this government, though I voted for them, I supported NDC. So me, what I'm telling you today is my candid opinion. Yes, that's my candid opinion. Just right now, if the topic changes and the facts go against the government, I'll say so. At least I'm on record. If you check, so far that this government is here, there are not less than 6 issues that have come, and what I spoke went against the government. So today, if you see me saying that Sami Jefi's own, the optics don't look good, but it is not as bad as it's being made to look like, then you should know that that's my candid opinion. Yes, that I'm saying that this was being done in private and somebody put a camera to it. You don't see Sami Jefi sanctioning the camera. You don't even see him reacting and saying, yes, I like it. He's enjoying the camera and all that. So please, this thing was being done in private and then it leaked. And so we should be careful. Things will always leak. Even Kandapa as minister, national security minister, was during a conversation between him and a young lady leak. Didn't he leak? Kandapa as a minister, security minister, the young lady smiled. Please do this for me. So let's be careful. Look, I think those doing it for political ends, they should be patient. Look, they should be patient. If the what do you call it, genuine issues come, yes, we will talk in a manner that goes in their favor, but they shouldn't force issues, things that should not, be raised beyond a certain level, should not be raised, because then otherwise you will not get organic opposition. It's like we are forcing the opposition, artificial opposition. No, I'll do it organically. If the thing looks genuine, I will oppose it. But where it is being forced, if I had seen $200,000, even though 200 is too much, if I had seen, there be anything about $20,000, etc., then we'll be asking a lot of questions, right? Maybe 20 is not a figure, I'm just saying extempore. But what I mean is that definitely that money that Sami Jefi counted is it doesn't look like it's gone beyond a threshold in Ghana, because if you convert, even let's say it was $5,000, 5 times what you call even 13, right? 5 times, let's say if it was 10,000, that'd be like 130,000 Ghana cedis. So 5,000 different dollars would be about, is that 65,000 Ghana? Yes, ask the MP. They pay 2 feet more than that. They pay 2 feet more than that. So let's put this in context, and let's be extremely cautious that we don't blow it out of proportion. It was not Sami Gyamfi who was displaying the money. That was her brother. Patience. What's her surname? Esiama.
It is,
her husband is Esiama.
She's Patricia Esiedua Esiama.
Patricia Esiedua Esiama. Right? Yes, she was the one brandishing the money. She's not displaying it, or like, okay, Ghana will say displaying it. She's not a public officer. So as I said, for optics, it looks quite a bit uncomfortable, it looks bad, etc. But let's be careful that we don't go too far to go and create something that we can't live with. That all the MPP, NDP are like, they will not be able to help constituents.
Council, there's a conversation that's evolving. We're waiting for the verdict of the president on this, so we'll certainly come back to you for some more. I beg your pardon on this. Thank you so much. And let's stay a bit further on this, Komla. And Dr. Jonathan Asanchochri is a political analyst, senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Political Science Department. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Alfred.
Now, the other side of this, beyond the legal, is also the politics of things as well. And there is that groundswell of reactions from the grassroots, the rank and file of the party, a section of whom also are of the view that if Sami Gyamfi have to be giving money, it shouldn't be the recipient in question. In this case, Evangelist Patricia Esiedua Esiama, popularly known as Nana Agrada. I mean, how far-reaching is this concern that a section of the grassroots have raised?
Well, let me say good evening to your good self once again and to your listeners. I think I will, for the first time, disagree with Mr. Martin Pegu, the angle that he took this particular issue. The actor himself has admitted as having, not displayed discretionary. He was like it's an act of indiscretion on his part. That is what he has admitted to. So we need to work with that. It is not good for the optics because the issue is a very sensitive issue. Because if you look at it from the bottom to the top, you could say that it affects the sensibilities, of the grassroots, because it's very sensitive, as you rightly put the matter. Obviously, it is also going to affect his credibility as a politician. It's not good for the optics because it could come as a collateral damage for his political career. That also being said, it could also come as a collateral damage for the party. It is more or less like a test case for the president because Mr. Sami Gyamfi is one of the favorites of the president, no two ways about that. And so it is a test case for the president as to how you want to go about it. Whichever way you look at it, for the optics is not good. What is even more annoying and infuriating to the grassroots is the personality involved. And so for me, no post facto rationalization will suffice. And that it is good that he rendered an unqualified apology. That is something that is a mark of a man. When you admit that, a conduct of yours borders on some kind of ethic, it is unethical. And so if you have admitted that, that is good. It is also a show of remorse. We cannot kill him or flay him for that matter. But that being said, I think that he will have to purge himself profusely before the grassroots purge himself before the categories of appointees who fall within his age bracket, because there were people who suggested to the president that, look, almost about 70% of your appointees are within the ages of 30 and less than 50. Some of them may not have had some kind of experience in the public sector. It is too much of a risk to allow such categories to find themselves at such sensitive positions. And so that in itself comes as a test to the president. Apart from that, the oldies, those who have seen it all, it also brings them into the picture. Like, they may end up blaming the president for bringing them too early on board. But of course, they must equally grow and gain some kind of experience. And so this, indeed, it is not a matter of somebody going to steal some money or whatnot. There are so many angles to it. The question others are also asking is, you never did that in opposition, and you're doing that in government. Is it a case that you find yourself, occupying a certain position? That is the more reason why you have the wherewithal, certainly. It may not be, it could be speculation. It may not be a truism. It could be a falsity. But you see, in politics, it is more optical and it is more perceptional than reality. And so when the perceptions are not right, it will go a long way to affect the image and the corporate identity and the image of the party that is in government and the agent and the assigns of the government. And so it is not good. It is not good at all. I had counsel suggest that, he went inside the car and did. Look, from the beginning, he took pictures. They took pictures of himself and the woman. This is a woman that I'm not in public office like they are in public office. Maybe as a lecturer, maybe some kind of public office per se. But I will never in my life let Madame Agada come anywhere close to wherever I am, whether for good or for bad reason, because that woman is a collateral damage. She may even have psychological problems, but you may not see.
I wouldn't want us to go on that slippery path because, I think you're on a trajectory, and let's not deviate. So, because you're not close with the competence to determine her psychological state, but the point you make about what grassroots, yes.
Before you come in with your
yes.
Questions. When she was purging herself of the issue and explaining on TikTok, you know what she was doing? She was asking people to be pressing a certain knob on TikTok. When in actual fact, you are explaining the case as a way of exonerating and ensuring the innocence of Mr. Sami Gyamfi. But you are asking your followers to be punching a certain knob on the social platform. Who does that? So we are dealing with someone who, for example, uses profane language in the public space. How would you have any kind of association with her? So these are all parts of the indiscretion we are talking about. And he admits so clearly, because you see, it affects the sensibilities of the grassroots. Having dollars in your car, for what? Maybe some of us don't have. That is why we are critiquing it. But I don't know why you will have dollars in his car, because that in itself poses some kind of threat or security. If some armed robbers accosted you, what would have happened? So, in whichever form or nature, it is not good for himself. It is not good for the sensibilities of the grassroots who worked hard. Some of them died. Some of them policed the ballot box. We all saw how they delayed in the collation, which was more of a strategy than just merely accidental. And people stood on their ground to ensure that the NDC had victory. And you see, Alfred, Mr. Sami Gyamfi has set a high standard for himself in the public space. Look at the way he dealt with the MPP over the period. And so he is somebody, and unfortunately for him, is occupying a sensitive position now, which if the government or the presidency is not careful, they could suffer some kind of collateral damage, especially in terms of remedial measures or punitive measures that he may want to put in place. And so having set such a high standard, he ought not to have been found, in this particular scene. It's just unfortunate because the guy is a smart guy. He's very intelligent. I don't know whether he was hypnotized into falling into this.
Well, should he have shunned her and refused to take a picture with her as she was requesting? I mean, because you talk about the optics of things as well. I mean, what would have been the implication of he deciding not to take a picture as he was being asked to by Agrada, as we see in the picture, in the video?
Because she in her defense, she said she's never met him, she's never done A, B, C, and D. And you happily want to have a picture with her, it is all part of the indiscretion. I wouldn't accept that. I wouldn't allow that because the woman is a collateral damage in political field. Here is the case we are told that she virtually abused the current president. So whether in the name of wanting people to come into the fold of the NDC, for which reason you allow something of that sort, I just don't know.
Dr. Jonathan Asachosi, appreciate your time on this matter, and I do thank you as always for sharing your thoughts, views, and opinions on this. And a number of you have been sharing your thoughts at 3FM927 on Facebook and also on X and on YouTube. We'll read out to you and to the rest of the world. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin has tasked the newly inaugurated committee tasked to develop a roadmap for the construction of a new gas processing plant. 4 weeks to complete their work. The 15-member committee was inaugurated jointly with the Energy Ministry with the aim of finding solutions to the country's perennial energy challenges associated with the lack of fuel to power thermal plants. Speaking at the inauguration, Energy Minister Dr. John Jenapo revealed the plant will, among many things, shore up current gas deficits in the power sector while creating jobs. We'll bring that to you shortly. But Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin on his part stressed urgency in the task of the committee in solving the current challenges faced by the country with respect to matters on the shortage of gas and then also the disruption in the supply of electricity. We'll bring that to you as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond, and some more news as well. We'll go for this quick break. When we're back, there'll be business with Bismarck Kewusa. Stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, Accra ranked Africa's third fastest growing real estate market, boosted by rising demand and investor confidence. We'll bring you details of new report by Statista and Knight Frank. Thanks for your company. Now to the detail. Accra has been ranked as the third fastest growing real estate market in Africa, trailing by Nairobi and Lagos, according to a new report by Statista and Knight Frank. The surge is driven by economic stability, a growing middle class, and increased demand for both luxury and affordable housing. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. Ghana's capital, Accra, is making waves on the continent's real estate scene, emerging as Africa's third fastest growing property market, according to new data from Statista and Knight Frank's Africa report. The report attributes this rise to investor confidence, political stability, and a surging urban population. Accra's real estate market is projected to reach 533 billion cedis by 2025, with residential housing alone accounting for more than 85% of that value. Prime neighborhoods like East Legon, cantonments, and airport residential area continue to attract high net worth individuals and expatriates, while affordable housing demand is rising in areas like Spintex, Adenta, and Pokwase. The government's partnerships with private developers and ongoing mortgage schemes are also helping to make home ownership more accessible. However, despite the growth, Accra faces office space oversupply challenges, with vacancy rates hitting up to 30%. Developers are now shifting towards flexible mixed-use buildings to adapt to remote work trends. With its strategic location and growing business reputation, Accra is fast becoming a major player in Africa's real estate boom. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Accra ranking Africa's third fastest growing real estate market, boosted by rising demand and investor confidence. Moving on, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has raised alarm over the persistent high cost and inefficiencies associated with cross-border remittances, describing them as a major obstacle to inclusive growth and financial integration across Africa. Speaking at the IMF Sub-Saharan African Central Bank Network Seminar on CBDCs and digital payments in Accra, Dr. Isiama pointed to high transaction fees, slow processing times, and lack of interoperability as key challenges that continue to burden families who depend on remittances and small businesses engaged in regional trade. He therefore emphasized the need for regional cooperation among African central banks to ensure meaningful progress. Moving on, economist and director of the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, Professor Peter Korte, has stressed concern over the net impact of the cedi's performance, warning that while importers may benefit, exporters stand to lose due to reduced competitiveness, a situation that could have long-term implications for jobs and consumer welfare. This comes after the cedi was named the best performing currency in the world after persistent appreciation to reach under 14 cedis to $1, an achievement largely credited to the government's recent fiscal measures. Speaking to 3 Business, Professor Peter Korte urged government to adopt a balanced approach to ensure stability rather than an over-appreciation of the local currency in order to protect investors.
And then reduce the price. But when there is competition, new goods being sold at a cheaper price compared to the old one at a higher price, you see some movement. Once there is competition, there is demand and supply, you see some movement towards a reduction in the price of these goods. But let's also not forget, we are looking at consumers. Let's also not forget that exporters, when the exchange rate depreciates, appreciates, our goods become expensive internationally, and therefore we are not able to sell as much as we could. So the appreciation also hurts exporters of our goods. So we have to look at the net effect. Consumers will gain, but exporters will be hurt when there is appreciation in the currency.
And that was economist and director of the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, Professor Peter Kote. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Awusa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Some sports here on 3FM's Hot Edition with me, Mutala Yakubu. Now, the Black Satellite of Ghana are currently locked in a 2-2 draw with Egypt in the Under-20 World Cup. Currently, it is penalty shootout, and Ghana has scored one, with Egypt also converting one. Moving on. Ghana's 4x100 relay team have booked qualification to the World Championship after finishing second in the qualifying round 2 at the World Relays. Now, Ghana, after narrowly missing out on automatic qualification on Saturday, took full advantage of their second chance, delivering a solid performance to clock 38.2 seconds behind France. A shaky changeover between Barnabas Aguirre and Joseph Paul Amoa looked to have put the Ghanaians out of contention, but a sensational ankle leg by Ibrahim Fuseni sealed qualification for Ghana. This is the second successive World Championship qualification for Ghana, showcasing the immense improvement in athletics. My colleague has more on this.
The guys recovered well. After that shaky start, they did a video which they put out and talk about the fact that they've worked on things and they would make Ghanaians proud, and they did. They could have even finished first, but for the Italian. So I think it's a good start for them. These boys do not have enough preparation, and Azamati has said it several times that the lack of preparation is what hinders Ghanaian athletes from performing at the bigger stage. Now that we know we've qualified for the World Championship, preparation must start now until the main tournament, and I believe Ghana Ghana will do well.
Now let's move on to some football where Asante Kotoko beat Brekum Chelsea 1-0 at Takwa on Saturday to advance to the finals of the MTN FA Cup. First for them in 8 years. Albert Amoah scored the all-important goal for the Porcupine Warriors in the 81st minute after creating a ton of chances. Kotoko are yet to win the FA Cup since beating Hartlepool 3-1 in 2017 and are now close to achieving a first ever trophy in the competition. Now, let's go to Takwa and have a listen.
I think on the surface of what we've seen so far, Kumasi Asante Kotoko may have too much for them. And you can see that Kotoko have placed all their hopes, all their eggs in one basket. That is a FA Cup basket. Because right after that draw against Hartlepool, Karim Zito talked about the fact that the Premier League looks far-fetched for them. But if they are to hold a realistic chance of winning a title, then they should focus on the FA Cup. So you can see what Asante Kotoko want to do with the FA Cup. The defeat to Nania FC in 2011 will still be fresh on their mind. So they would go into this game not going to undermine or underrate Golden Kick, knowing that Golden Kick, I mean, they have a golden kick, if you can say that, because they like to go to the penalty shootout where it's a game of lottery, anyone can win. They will try to hold Asante Kotoko and try to push the game into extra time, then to penalty kicks and see if they have a chance. But with Kotoko's attack of Albert Amoah, Kwame Poku, and all these, I mean, players, it will be too much for Golden Kick. For me, we could have a battering from Asante Kotoko or an upset from Golden Kick.
Now, let's move on. Elsewhere in football, Andre Ayew has clocked up 500 games at club level after his appearance in for Le Havre against boyhood club Olympique Marseille. In the goalless draw in Ligue 1, Ayew has reached the landmark across multiple seasons in the French top flight, the English Premier League, the Qatar League, and the Turkish top flight league. He has also spent time in the Championship in England, as well as the second tier of French football. Journalist Rahman Osman has followed the day closely and says the landmark is great credit to his longevity.
It goes to show the character of the man, goes to show the character of the player. Now, we can have two things, the man as an individual and the player. And it's the lack of clarity on Ayew's international future is also robbing him of some of the goodwill he's had. So hopefully we will have a fair conclusion to it and would have the proper communication on what's going to happen with him, because I think there's a lot that is happening in his career and a lot of people are not touching it just because of whether if he will still play for the national team or not. But think about this, he's played 500 times as a professional footballer, and that is a show of how dedicated he is, how disciplined he is. And I've been lucky enough to know Ayew on a personal note. The amount of time he works to make sure he's fit, the amount of discipline he has, like literally eats on time, eats the right thing, make sure that his body condition is always at the level where if he goes to training or he has a match, the risk of injury is always literally almost all the time limited to just a natural cause and not that of maybe possibly like because of a diet or just not taking care of himself.
That is London-based Ghanaian journalist Rahman Osman. Now let's cross the borders and go to Spain, where Xabi Alonso will become the new Real Madrid head coach for the club World Cup, according to multiple sources. The Spaniard will replace Carlo Ancelotti, who is to take charge of Brazil national team from May 26th after finishing the season at Real Madrid. Alonso's imminent arrival comes after the news that current Real boss Ancelotti would become the head coach of Brazil. Spanish football expert Andres Argentina believes the real decision to go for Xabi Alonso is a good one.
Well, I think that the decision is correct. It's nice for the Real Madrid future because Xabi Alonso knows the spirit of Real Madrid. Remember that he was a very important midfielder in the past He was implicated in a lot of titles of Real Madrid, including Champions League in the past, and he's developing a very good career like a coach in Bayer Leverkusen. And well, he's young, he's modern, he has the element to promote a new Real Madrid, no? With Mbappe, with a main star, but he need to.
The Spaniard added that he is optimistic that Carlo Ancelotti can lead Brazil back to their glory days.
Well, I think that he has a very good opportunity because Brazil is in a very bad moment now, the national team. Remember, Brazil had, with Ancelotti, the third coach in the last 3 years. It's a lot for develop a project, no? We will have 1 year is big, and for me it's very important that he knows Vinicius, he knows Rodrigo, two of the main players now in Brazil. Obviously, he knows and suffered yesterday, Rafinha too, but he has the talent, no? But Brazil need a team. There are different things, no?
So that is Spanish journalist there, Andres Argentina, keeping us up to date with what is happening with Real Madrid and Brazil. But some sad news for us here, because the game between Ghana and Egypt on the 20 AFCON has come to a closure after a 2-2 draw in extra time. Ghana has lost on penalties by 5-4, meaning that the Black Satellite have failed to qualify for the Under-20 World Cup, which will be staged in Chile in September. Since 2015, Ghana has not been able to be at the Fiesta, and it's a sad one for Desmond Ofer and his boys. Now let's move on and go to England, where just 3 days after United reached the Europa League final, they were brought back down to earth by another lowly side in the Hammers, with the London club recording their first top-flight win at Old Trafford since 2007. Ruben Amorim said he feared his Manchester United side were forgetting their responsibilities as players of one of the major clubs in the world. While casting doubt on his own future, the Red Devils manager says Saturday's loss is not a good one.
We create more chances than the opponent, but the lack of urgency to protect our goal in the few times that West Ham was near our box, we had a lack of urgency. We were near the box and we had lack of urgency, and we need to be more aggressive. If you cannot score in the first ball, the second ball, if we cross the ball, if we are aggressive, we can score. We had lack of pace. We have to do so much better. And for me, the biggest concern is that feeling that is okay. And we cannot change our position so much, so it's okay.
Ruben Amorim is the manager of Manchester United. In Merseyside, Arsenal fought back from 2 goals down to rescue a valuable 2-2 draw against Liverpool as the Gunners moved a step closer to qualifying for the Champions League on Sunday. Mikel Arteta's side trailed first half goals from Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz at Anfield, but Gabriel Martinelli reduced the deficit before Mikel Merino grabbed the visitors' equalizer. Here is head coach of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta.
I think it makes it worse because, I mean, you miss half of the team again, and we've done it for 9 months. And you can still, after 2-0 at Anfield, that any other team would do what we play the way that we play, come back, maybe should have won it, and at the end maybe lose it again for something that was in our hands, for sure, and having to play for the 6th time in the season with 10 men. So if you want to really win it, the consistency level for 95 minutes, and I don't like to talk about the players that are not here and the excuses.
So that is Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, and that brings us to the end of the sports updates here on 3FM's Hot Edition. My name is Mutala Yakubu. There's more after this.
Been a journey of Pan-Africanism and consciousness. It is your regular taxi driver with the urban blend and 3FM 92.
Welcome back. You're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale. We're live on W93.5 in and beyond. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Toforsen has tasked the newly inaugurated committee tasked to develop a roadmap for the construction of a new gas processing plant. 4 weeks to complete their work. The 15-member committee was inaugurated jointly with the Energy Ministry with the aim of finding solutions to the country's perennial energy challenges associated with the lack of fuel to power thermal plants. Speaking under the inauguration, Energy Minister John Jinapo revealed that the plant will, amongst many, shore up current gas deficits in power sector while also creating jobs in the country.
Commissioning of the first gas processing plant at Atuabo, there hasn't been much investment in our gas sector. There has not been any additional gas processing plant, neither has we increased the pipeline from Ghana Gas's perspective. Indeed, today I had a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Finance, and it turned out that the liquid fuel requirement alone for this year for our thermal plants exceeds $1 billion. That is if we buy distillate fuel, light crude oil, HFO, it takes us to around 1 billion. That is not sustainable. But the catch is that the liquid fuel currently is not part of the tariff structure. And so even as all of us agree that the cost of electricity hits our pockets, the truth is that that 1 billion is not reflected in the current tariff structure. Demand is projected to increase by about 300 megawatts every year. And so next year, your guess is as good as mine. So something ought to be done urgently to address this situation. One of the ways is to address the fuel challenge confronting us as a country. Currently, we have a gas deficit of about 100 MMscf. And so we are compelled to buy very expensive liquid fuels to fill that gap. It's in the light of this that government is taking a bold decision that we construct our own second gas processing plant. That can give us savings of close to $500 million every year. And so in 2 years, the savings from using gas as an alternative to liquid fuels can repay the plant. And we think that the state and Ghana must own that plant. One of the reasons why we are facing serious challenges as a country is because the IPPs are always on our necks, and they wouldn't take a breather. So we're going to get our own gas processing plant, increase gas consumption, but also for those who understand this sector, we are going to get what we call the LNGs. Then liquid, the NGLs, the natural gas. When you process the gas, apart from the lean gas, you get LPG.
As joined up by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Tuforcing, on his part, stressed urgency in the task of the committee.
But unfortunately, when we were leaving office in 2016, we had enough gas to be able to power the entire power plant, and even excess. But nothing has been done since we left, only for us to return to see a major shortfall in terms of gas supply to power our gas processing plants, our thermal plants. Today, after our exercise, it came to us as a shock that Ghana requires at least $1.1 billion annually to buy light crude oils, heavy fuel oils, and others, diesel fuel oils, to be able to power our thermal plants. Yet, the consumer is not paying for this kind of fuel. And it means that the Ministry of Finance will have to look for money to fund this amount. And the shortfall is quite a lot. $1.1 billion at today's exchange rate. You are talking about 15 billion cedis. This 15 billion cedis is about 3.5 times the goods and services we use to run the entire government machinery. 3.5 times. And so the problem, as we see, is far bigger than what the country can accommodate. This simply means that we have to fast track this gas processing plant too. And you are right. 2 years of savings will be enough to repay this gas processing plant. And I'm surprised to hear that the previous administration, after so many years of talk, were unable to begin the process of acquiring a second gas processing plant. Honourable Minister, I want to also use this opportunity to urge the technical committee to expedite action and for us to quickly resolve the concerns that have raised. We need to have a second gas processing plant as soon as possible. And I believe that the technical committee will be able to finish their work in time for us to commission a contractor or a business to be able to build a second gas processing plant. It is so important for our country, so important for our welfare, and so important for the economy to run. And so I want to use this opportunity to thank you for your leadership and to thank the committee members there that we are inaugurating them here, and also to urge them that, please, enough of the bureaucracy.
As Dr. Kasiela Tuforcing there. Now, stakeholders in the transportation industry are yet to conclude on whether recent appreciation of the cedi and the corresponding drop in fuel price could lead to cheaper fares, transport fares. Now, fuel prices have dropped 3 consecutive times this year, mainly due to declining crude oil prices and the relative stability of the Ghanaian cedi against the dollar. Now, despite this, the first pricing window for May 2025 saw a marginal increase in the price of some petroleum products. The Institute for Energy Security has projected that prices will fall marginally again during the second pricing window beginning this week. As of Monday, May 5, some oil marketing companies had adjusted their pump prices, with petrol now reduced from 13 cedis 40 pesos to 12 cedis 99 pesos, and then also diesel ranging between 13 cedis 99 pesos and 14 cedis 89 pesos respectively. Despite these significant reductions in oil prices, transport fares remain unchanged, with unions yet to make any official move towards lowering prices of transport fares. Now, commuters have been expressing their concern about this development. Take a listen.
I believe that the government should come in and then maybe enforce that the price of transportation should come down. And even with certain areas, they even increase the fare, especially when the number of passengers are plenty, and we are not getting car. They even increase it. They don't use even the normal fare. They don't use that one. So they have to consider the citizens because we are suffering and we are under the government. So he has to help us.
Fuel no, almost so no, almost so do be and as spare pass any near man so no, almost the almost so. I don't think I drive from some person better so. But you know, I can't be. Oko try dia almost so. It is a better driving in so I had what so. Say here two your thief was so now ban say. Obi answer the thing near maso dia and will be a better so.
As a lolo fair now is a draw of 1 agent. A brain me cry and then your cry. Fiaco barrier, a 6 cities. A brain me almost 10 cities, 15 cities. Into a higher until I draw of on the penny furniture, no money I draw for the casa, no say fairness of my.
Evidence says, I know you're T4 and so. And no, I can't hear. And saying a madam now a buff on Sana, man, and conform Sana, fain soon. A driver for them soon, yet me tea fairness.
A tea for us, a tea passes. O Montizo, the Montana Mutun. So what I say, Tomba said to the Fenus, I say, for an baby, I say a day. No, my.
There are some commuters there, but let's get a bit further, some detail on this. And the man who speaks for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Head of Industrial Relations, GPRTU, Alhaj Abasi Moro, is joining us. Alhaj, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, Brother Ocansey. It's been a while.
Indeed, it has been, but I do appreciate your thoughts this evening. So, are you ever going to reduce transport fares anytime soon?
Mr. Ocansey, I will say yes and no when the need arises. But for now, the current situation doesn't move us to reduce the lorry fares now. Why do I say so?
Yes, why?
The fuel prices which has been reduced, you rightly said it was around 13 cedis on pesos. It is now 12 cedis, 99 pesos. Meaning the reduction hasn't even affected cedi. It has affected pesos, some few pesos. Let's move away from the fuel. You see, we run...
but the pesos is per liter.
Other components alongside the fuel. Just this Saturday, I bought 13 plate battery, which was being sold around 700, 1,100. Well, meaning when the prices all went up, they are stable. All the prices where it went to are still stable. When the dollar went up, there were some taxes. Currently, the current government has reduced those taxes and the dollar is declining. But by then, our people have this stock in their stores. And they said they bought it while the dollar rate was up, while they were paying some taxes. So they are trying to clear this stock before maybe the new stock at the reduced prices could also get to some of us. So plead with the general public, they should understand is that yes, the dollar is declining. We are all happy. We are all ready also to reset Ghana. But we are doing business. We are in serious business. It's not taking.
But
we run at a loss and it will affect all of us.
But this is always the refrain. I mean, that's always your position. The sentiments of the commuting public is that whenever there's the need for you to consider reducing transport fares because of a major factor like the reduction in the prices of fuel, petrol, diesel at the pumps, you always come up with this other excuse or other explanation that there are